That's where Paul is telling his talking to previously about his comments of who Israel still is to God, and how the Gentiles shouldn't think more of themselves or less of themselves, or more of the Jews or less of the Jews. Paul is telling the Romans how to live as Christians. That's what he's doing here.
Right.
So think about it coming from pagan culture and religion into this monotheistic, Jewish-centered moral system with a God who claims he's created all things by him and for him and through him, and more on that later. But this is a radical departure from the Romans living in a pagan culture at the time.
Right.
And now Paul is calling for them to live apart from their former lives in all ways.
Right.
The Roman religion, the Roman society is antithetical to Christianity in pretty much every single way.
Yeah.
And I think at times people view the American system of government, and again, I'm a product of my society, and so or the Australians or whoever might else be listening, but whatever your form of government is, we need to realize that we are not of this world, and that we are called to live apart from it. And so when you have human institutions that are based on human foundations, they will fall and they will falter. And so Paul is telling us how we are to interact in the entirety of the situation. And so how do we do that? Well, verse 1 and 2, be a living sacrifice, not be conformed to the world. Begin to walk the walk of sanctification and find out what God's will is. Verse 1 and 2. Then 3 through 8, he moves and says, we are one and many, each with different gifts. Why do we have these different gifts, Paul? Well, thanks for asking, Romans. To have the collective help the individual find his or her place in the body, and vice versa, for the individual to build up and sanctify the church. Then 9 through 13, a consistent message that Paul preaches throughout all his letters. Love being the primary means and the end for all these things to happen. So all good, happy thoughts, everyone? Good? No, we're Romans. Now we're getting into 14 through 21, the bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How to live in a pagan world that you once were a part of, but now live apart. And your neighbors know it. You know, you're not sacrificing the bull. You're not being drenched in blood. You're not going to the orgies. You're not going to the temple prostitutes. You're living a different life, and everyone knows it. Right. You're hated by them as traitors to the great might of Rome. You've given up the greatest civilization the world has ever known. They have conquered the known world, and you have turned your backs on them. You're going to a conquered people and saying, I'm going to worship with you.
Right.
You're hated by the Jews because you're an invading army that has taken them over, and now you're trying to take over their religion with this belief in a Messiah that has come, and his name is Jesus, a man hung on a tree. No, that's not us. We're one God, Yahweh, and that's who we follow. And sorry, we put money changers and animals in your way. So, I mean, Jesus kind of threw them out for a little bit, but we brought them back, and then he did it again, sure. But, that might have been your spot, but no, not for the conquering army. We're supposed to be there, and then we'll invite you. Once we rebel and we take you over Rome, then we'll be all good. You can come in then. You may lose your business, your status, your job, your family, and that family might be believers with you, and they might not be. And they have lost their status, their job, parts of their family. How will you be treated? How will you react? And Paul is telling you in this message what you need to hear. So not everything's all hunky-dory. Clearly you know that as a Roman. And 19 through 21, bad things will happen to you. Mm-hmm. What is your response? Oh, just turn the other cheek, smile, needle point the Bible verse. You're all good, right? That's how we're taught. Be humble, turn the other cheek, no recourse, just, have that good witness. If something requires punishment, though, where do we seek the address of our grievance? And that's where it transitions into Romans 13:1, the governing authorities. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Now I have to take a drink from my straw.